important on the day of an observation. Coffee right here, lots. Hi friends, welcome back. Today is a day in life vlog video. I am losing my voice a little bit, so you'll have to excuse me for that. I am just driving to work right now. The kids are in the back, and it is my observation day.
Mommy.
Hi Cooper, say hi.
Hi.
There's my little guy. It's my observation today. I have one observation a year, so this is not out of the normal. Every year I have one, and I've never had one not go as planned, but I always get really nervous. So call me crazy, but I decided to have my observation on a Friday afternoon. Yes, Cooper? Hi. I'm gonna miss you too, but I love you. So I'm sure it's gonna go fine. But I don't know, I've talked to some other teachers as well, and it sounds like it's not just me. I don't know, you can let me know if you're a teacher, let me know below how you feel when it's your observation time. But yeah, it just seems like most teachers I know, and for myself, just get kind of nervous, even though it is a big deal, but it's not the only thing that goes into, you know, your staff evaluation every single year. So with my principal in my school, we don't have a touch base before the observation. My principal just comes in and is kind of like quiet like a mouse on the back and the side, and is just observing. So she's not really interacting with students or with staff. And I've had some other administrators as well that has just said, like, you know, just let me slip in quietly and just kind of observe. So this with my current administrator, she kind of does the same. She's just kind of on the side, just sort of observing and not, you know, engaged in part of the lesson. So she can, you know, just observe all the kids and observe me and take a lot of notes. And she just types on her computer. And then after we're done, you know, she might say something to me in the hall, like, thanks for letting me come in, or, well, that was a fun lesson, or something. Usually she's really good at just saying something. You know, maybe just like calm your jitters. I'm sure she remembers when she was a teacher as well. So that just kind of makes you feel better. And then a couple days later, we'll get together and kind of go over all the notes that she wrote. Excuse me. And in my 10 years, here's what I've typically noticed happens in those touch-based meetings is typically my, you know, administrators have just typed in, you know, she said this, the students did this, she showed this was on the board, they talked about this song was sung, this instrument was played, then they stood up, then they sat down, then the class did, you know. So it's sort of more of like a straightforward narration. I love you too, Cooper. So you guys, as I was getting ready today, it was just the weirdest feeling. I realized that I used to wear almost this exact same outfit formula all the time when I was in high school and in college. I couldn't believe it. I guess that just tells you that no matter what styles I try, I always circle back around to some of these timeless basics. I had a black blazer that was long line like this, kind of, you know, like a mid to heavyweight and stretchy, unlined, just almost exactly like this. From Forever 21 when I was in high school. I bought it as a freshman and I felt so grown up and so fancy in it, and I wore it all the time. And I also would wear little shells. I've loved this, you know, gold and black detail since then. And at the time, I remember I had a few pairs of dark jeans, but of course they were more boot cut at the time. And the shoes that I wore all the time was like, they were high quality and leather. Square toed, round toed, boots and booties underneath my boot cut jeans. So this is like almost an exact outfit copy that I would have worn all the time in high school and college. Even this necklace I've had since high school. I've had this ring since high school. I had little, of course, much smaller, but smaller little diamond studs from my dad in high school. I had you know, a different style of watch, but you know, very similar, and I always kind of had a watch on. And so as I was getting ready this morning, I thought, oh my gosh, I guess my style hasn't changed that much through the decade. Hi friends, welcome back. Okay, it's been a couple of days since my observation lesson, and I just had a debriefing with my principal, so I wanted to jump on and reflect with you guys. So the lesson went really well. You know, I have noticed when administrators are in the room observing, it doesn't matter what class, you know, they're observing. I do feel like kids just sit up a little straighter and are really fast to follow directions. So typically, the kids just really want to impress our administrators. So the lesson went really well. Huge tip for any of you teachers out there: plan an extra bonus activity or two. So this particular class, they just wanted to impress so much me and our administrator that they just worked so hard, and we finished our entire lesson quickly and early. So I was really glad that I had an extra build-on activity. So we were learning a song, we learned some movements, and I was able to incorporate some drums in it as well. Had I not, prepared that in the back of my mind and had some drums out and ready, we might have gotten to the end of the lesson and not had anything to do. So huge tip, just plan extras. If you get there, great. If you don't, that's great too. As huge other tip, I would strongly encourage you to consider as you're deciding what lesson you want to be observed teaching. I have reflected in myself and other teachers as well, master teachers I really respect, that it's so tempting to want to just show your teaching educator prowess, and pull out all the stops and do the most incredible, fascinating lesson and do all these things that maybe you don't do on a normal basis, but that you're capable of. And I've just noticed that the most impressive, and I've heard this from administrators as well, is when they can come in and see a class do the same thing that they do every day, and they can observe the students knowing and following a structured routine, and that's incredibly impressive. I won't go into all the reasons why having a structured classroom and routine is so important for all grade levels, pre-K through college. I won't go into that. That's another video for another day, but I think that it is incredibly impressive for an administrator to come in, see what you do on a regular daily basis, and to just observe the students, knowing exactly how to come in, exactly where to go, exactly what to start doing, exactly what's expected of them for answering questions, or what their procedure is for learning X, Y, or Z, or whatever the activity you have planned is. And I've heard other teachers say that as well. Like, nix the flashy, let's do a crazy lesson in something we've never done before. Nix that. Yeah, that can be really fun for sometimes, but just shine and let your students shine and stick to your routine. And it is incredibly, incredibly impressive when you can see students knowing exactly what to do without being reminded. It's amazing. So I did that. I kept my lesson just the same as it would be any other day. I just kept on going with the same, lessons we've been having, and it was really, really good. After my observation, my administrator called me in to, have a reflection, debriefing time together. And I don't know about your guys' states, but in Idaho, I've been seeing observations go very, very scripted. So, and she was explaining that to me again, and I've heard that kind of the same thing for the last couple of years. So I don't know how it is in every state, but in Idaho, at least, they're having administrators really, really type up almost like a script, and then attach it to different observable things that the teachers are doing in very specific rubric categories. For us, we use the Danielson rubric. If you guys are familiar with that, I think a lot of states have adopted that. Anyways, we can talk more about that on another day if you want to. But it was just very, very scripted. The teacher said this, the student said this. She's saying this, the student saying that. They stood up, they sat down. They did that, so it's just very, very scripted. But we were able to have, more reflective conversations as we went, and I appreciated that my administrator, had that reflection in there as well. So she would really noticed when I adapted things, when I sped things up, because I was observing students were really grasping quickly, or when I slowed things down or reviewed things or retaught things, and then the students got it and then we picked back up again. So I appreciated that she really noticed that I was actively adjusting the lesson as we went. I also always want to come prepared to an observation debriefing with my own personal reflection notes. Now, of course, if you don't know a meeting's going to happen, sometimes you're caught off not prepared. But I knew it was coming. I had about 5-10 minutes before my debriefing between classes, and I jotted down some things. I think it's really important to come in prepared with talking points on many different levels. So I came in with some reflections about how the lesson went. I came in with some reflections on how I'm going to modify going forward. I am a music teacher, so I do get the privilege of teaching the same lesson a few times, so I can modify, reflect, and reteach as I go. So I think that's really important to show that I am actively evaluating my teaching and mastering my craft, and that's important to me. I also like to comment on some very specific very, very specific, exact teachers, exact classes, exact comments of things that are really working well, because I know that's important. Administrators hear a lot of garbage, and I think it is really important to see when real, authentic change is happening, especially with some students that I know that my administrator has been very aware of, maybe been actively part of doing some behavior modifications for, or has just been a part of, helping curb behavior. So if I have any great successes to share, I really want to be specific, because as educators and administrators as well, we sometimes it's really easy to focus on the kids that are struggling, or the hard day we had because the student wasn't responding or whatever. And I think it's really important to encourage ourselves that we are making real change, and this is what's happening. So I like to include that. I also like to include in my notes something that I see as a challenge that I can overcome, an area that I could grow in. And then I start that dialogue for, I would really enjoy your suggestions. Did you observe this? Do you have any suggestions for that? Or maybe with this particular student that we've been, struggling with, or that maybe that the school has brought to attention to our IEP team. What can I do to modify for that? Or just professionally, I had a goal that I asked my administrator to, weigh in, give me some feedback on. So that was really great. And then the last thing I really like to include in my notes is sharing what's going to be coming up next. So I'm a music teacher, so I shared, what's coming up next for, our upcoming programs, some different things I'm involved with around the buildings, just so she's kind of on the same page with what I'm doing here, and that nothing catches her off guard, and she's, prepared for any parent questions or anything like that. So overall, the lesson went really great. The reflection went really great. I feel like if you come prepared with your own reflections and your own comments, your own discussion points, then you're really showing your administrator that you care about what you're doing. You care about being the best educator you can be. You care about not only reflecting but also growing as an educator, and that you're aware of what's going on around the building and with students, and then you walk away with real constructive, positive feedback and advice and suggestions to move forward with. So I do feel like that is really important as you are having your observations and having those debriefing meetings. So thinking of you guys, if there's anything I've missed or anything you want to add, and you've been an administrator or a teacher and you've gone through this process, please leave down below if you have any suggestions or helpful tips for any other teachers who are watching this. All right, thank you so much for watching.